Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 29th day of October, 2019. Ooh, I love 11 energies, don't you? Master numbers have such wonderful influences. 22, of course, is the cosmic builder. 33 is Christ consciousness. But 11 is illumination. So we should be discovering things today. Things maybe we didn't know, or maybe we're having them affirmed, maybe, or reaffirmed today. But typically, when you're talking master number influences, just like the major arcana in tarot, and as well as the runes, the Elder Futhark runes, you're talking about soul archetype information, if you will, the soul informing our whole experience here, because really that's what we are. We're souls that have just slowed down a portion of that essence and that greater unified essence that belongs to us, our little portion of the creation, I guess. We slow it down enough, and a portion of it becomes our bodies. But the rest of it remains expansive within the greater unified consciousness field. That's how empaths, I believe, understand what we do. I think that we just simply, it's not that we go there necessarily. It's just that we're there. It's just part of our makeup here, our energetic makeup, where we're still aware of who we are in the energetic structure, right, of who we are. We're still aware of that. And when we know things, when we understand what someone's feeling, it's because what we are beings that are feeling based. We have our soul essence is an emotional type of resonance. And so when an empath knows things, it's not intuition as much as it is feeling the emotional resonance of the individual and then understanding what that's all about. Now, if you feel into something, then yeah, you may be accessing, still that astral realm of information, or you may be using intuition, which is a more, physical form sort of engagement, if you will, because when you're non-physical, what are you intuiting? Nothing. What are you seeking to know? Nothing. You already know it. So we need those extra faculties, if you will, when we're incarnate, when we're incarnate, I should say, and we need that to navigate. And people just naturally do that. You have senses of deja vu. You have times where you just know something's about to happen, or you can't account for it. Well, it's because it's coming from that area of your existence. It's not coming from the physical necessarily. It's coming from an interaction between the empathic self and the physical self, basically. And then from there, you have all your clair abilities and things like that manifest. But that doesn't really need to happen until you come into body, because it's that density of experience that we're trying to get through and see beyond and see the bigger picture through. That's all that really is trying to see through the density of form a little bit and know what we intrinsically know about things. So anyway, enough about that. Something came up. I had a question that came up, and I'm still trying to allow it to gel. Plus, I was working on one of the books I'm writing. I've got two in the hopper right now. One's a novel and one's not. So I was kind of working on both of them last night. Just sort of, reconnecting with them. I put them aside from time to time, and I don't focus on them for a while. I like to flesh things out a bit and then come back to them and reread it and see, okay, was that really the direction I wanted to go with that, So anyhow, let's see if my tea is ready to drink yet. Oh, thank God. First caffeine of the day. Well, the sun is in the 11th house in Scorpio. So passionate, intense experiences again. You're going to experience things deeply today. In the 12th house, or no, that's not the, well, we're not in the 12th house anymore. Are we in the 12th house? No, we're in the 11th. Okay. I just didn't take that out. I do notes in the morning on astrology. I go into my software and I just sort of get some highlights to share with you here. And sometimes I don't erase some of the stuff I had from the day before. It's like, okay, was that for today? Also, Sun, let's see, is the Sun still opposing Uranus? Let me look here. Let me go to the Sun. Opposite Uranus. Yeah, it's still opposing Uranus. So, you know, Uranus is the planet of unconventionality, and kind of it's my planet because I'm unconventional. And so when the Sun's there, you know, and it's opposing it, you know, then you know, you may, rather than being dress right, dress about everything, which the Sun kind of is, you know, you've got Uranus going, wait a minute, maybe we could try this. So maybe we could take this approach. Maybe we could think about it this way. So if you start to feel like you're sort of stepping outside your normal comfort zone, that's Uranus's impact here today. Let's see, Moon was new on Sunday, so technically it's still new now. You're still feeling some of that energy. It's not going to last much longer, though. We'll get into the waning aspects more. Let's see. Still in Scorpio, 12th house today. Yeah, 12th house today. Describes it when you get into the 12th house, you know, it's kind of endings, sort of. It's the occult. It's you know, it's a lot of different things, but basically, when I think 12th house, I think, okay, time to take a step back and just sort of maybe be a little more reserved, you know, more solitude oriented, you know, versus being out with groups. Mars is still, what's going on with Mars here? Let me see. Same thing, that's Mars square Saturn, also Mars in Libra, also in the 10th house. So again, we're still watching our tone at work. Mars square Saturn suggests patience is necessary, and you don't want to, you know, assert yourself in a way that can be viewed as aggressive. Check in with people before your natural leadership tendencies sort of emerge. Check in with them and make sure that they're comfortable with that, because sometimes that energy is not always received well. Venus also in the 12th house. Yeah, Venus in the 12th house. Again, reflective in your relationships with others today. A little more reflection. So again, maybe just sort of, you know, stay in harmony with others, but, you know, don't allow emotions, because Scorpio's influencing right now. Don't become suspicious when there's no reason to be, and don't try to read into stuff that maybe isn't there. Sometimes we react emotionally and we assume something when it's really not true. And so we jump the gun and we jump to conclusions, and maybe we hurt a relationship. You know, October is the month for relationships and harmony. So, but then toward the end, you know, you move into Scorpio with that Scorpio energy, you know, you might be, you know, mistrustful of things, and you might think that, you know, you might assign your own or ascribe your own secretive nature to others, in other words, and react that way. And see, well, because you don't realize that maybe they're not like you, you know, they're not as secretive as you are. You know, maybe all they want is just a nice relationship with you, and you're reading into something that just isn't there, you know, but you've convinced yourself of it. Scorpios are great for that. So again, you know, just consider all that, you know, when you're interacting with others. And if you feel like you're rising to the bait, to take the bait, or you're just getting too emotional today, just, you know, go be by yourself. Go read a book, you know, go do something, you know, go meditate, you know, go focus on something that takes you outside of your own awareness, and stay there for a little while, and until you can, you know, find your center again. So anyway, Scorpio is always a difficult time. So it's just the way it is. And then you've got Mercury retrograde. It's going to begin here in 2 more days. So, you know, it's like you have to contend with that while you're dealing with, you know, the Scorpio emotion level as well. So anyhow, let's get started, and we'll take our first 3 cards. See, yesterday we ended up with a 4th, so we'll see what happens today. So if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you so much for coming by. If you've come back, thank you. I appreciate it so much. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. I'll just share with you real quick. I do these cards randomly. I don't just simply lay them out like I would in a normal reading. What I do here is I take the 13th card each time for randomness sake. And so let's get started and see what our first 3 cards are. After that, I'll take a rune from the rune bag, and then we'll create to close out, we'll create a geomancy rune to sort of tie it all together, or maybe just to see an outlier that we need to maybe just keep in the back of our minds, or something like that. It usually ends up being one or the other. Well, I have the Ace of Cups, and we'll look at that. We'll look at them all in a minute. I'm not going to spend any time right now when I'm laying them out. I'll just show it to you briefly. Aces are new beginnings, by the way. The weekly Rune and Moon is up on the blog, and it's filled with some new beginnings this week as well. Really a running theme throughout. The Queen of Wands. So we have a queen present today, some female authority. That's dynamic, protective, an active presence. I did a little evening tarot reading last night on the Stepping Aside Facebook page. I did one of those if you want to check those out. Oh, wow, we got an interesting reading. We've got the Ace of Wands. All right. So we have a day of balance. This is a Tuesday. Yes. Yesterday was Monday. So it's Tuesday, so it's a Mars day, so it's filled with passion. But we're also got some 12th house energy where we may want to take a step back from all of that. So what we have here, you'll see, we're going to compare the two. You can see a hand reaching out from the clouds in both, correct? One is holding a club. That's the Ace of Wands. That's the fire element, or our will, our creativity. Some say intuition. Mostly that's attributed to water, but some say intuition. You have the Ace of Cups, which is emotion. And there you have, again, intuition. But you could say intuition is strong today. You have an 11 energy. You could look at this as that. 1 and 1 if you don't add it together. So this aligns with the 11 energy today of illumination. But from the level of spirit, not from the ego. We see the dove of peace dropping a disc with a cross in the center of it. We see water overflowing. We see 5 streams of it there, don't we? So we're talking, pentagram energy there. We're talking all elements plus spirit in balance. The waters of life, you could say, flowing into and sustaining us, our emotions, our emotional presence. So we have a battle today between will and emotions, you could say, and the Queen of Wands brings all of it into balance, doesn't she? Now, we had her the other day and last week, and one thing that I noticed about her staff is that it's bent, isn't it? Sort of curved a little bit. The bottom part of it, although the top part of it is reasonably straight, the other part of it down below sort of bends a little bit inward, and it bends toward the receptive side of self. She holds a sunflower in her left receptive hand, the feminine side of self, and she holds the staff in the right hand, which is the masculine side of self, in terms of polarity. Now, this is not gender. This is energetic, okay? We're not talking man and woman, although, gender is, each one of us possesses a mixture of what is considered masculine or projective energy within and feminine or receptive energy within. It's a balance, a projective receptive balance, okay, in terms of energy, in terms of our energetic structure. Each one of us contains our own unique balance of that. Some of us have more masculine or Mars energy or projective energy. Some of us, in other words, women I'll do a stereotype here, which, is awful, right? But a woman who is assertive is not liked. I'm not liked. Okay, it's a thing that if you're an assertive woman, if you particularly if you speak truth to power to a man or a group of men, which I do, I have no problems doing that. Not sure why, but obviously I have. And you look at my chart, though, my astrological chart, and you're going to see a little extra Mars energy there, right? So, in fact, let me just see if I can find it here. Let's see, there's that, there's mine. Where is Mars? Yeah, Mars in Libra in the first house. And so strong energy, right? Strong projective energy. And that's why, and I get myself in trouble with it because, I will say things and, it irritates men. It makes women uncomfortable unless they're like me and they're like, yeah, do it. And you'll get some that maybe aren't so, beholden to their husband's perspective, right? And, and you'll see a look in their eyes like, oh. So we all want to be able to do those things. We just want to be able to keep them all in balance. And what's hard for women is to see the reaction when we do speak truth to power. Then, we get, especially if you're on the world stage, like some of our female politicians are, they're brutalized because they're strong women. Well, get used to it because we're here and we're not going away. And we're getting bigger. The numbers are getting bigger, right? Women are realizing the intrinsic power that they have. No matter what the mixture of the polarity is, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm trying to say here. We just all need to learn how to use it in a way that's effective in our lives, in our interactions with others, and making our way in the world so that we foster opportunity instead of standing back and being afraid to take it, And we all have done that, haven't we? We've all seen something we've wanted, but we've hesitated, and then it was gone, right? So the idea of figuring out the type of polarity balance you have, you can then figure out, well, what areas do I need to shore up and what areas do I maybe need to tamp down a little bit? How do I need to rebalance all of that so that I'm more effective in the world? And for today's reading, we're looking at new emotional beginnings and new beginnings with will and bringing them into some kind of authoritative balance in a way that we can then express that authority to the world. We don't want to be too passive. We don't want to be too upfront, right? But we want to strike a balance so that what we have to say is not lost in our expression of it, so that people can remember and focus on what it is we're actually trying to say. That is so interesting, how we manage power when we're women. Or if we are perhaps, if you're a man and you're just a little too receptive and you hesitate too much, this is reminding us that we have to decide, and because it's the aces, we're talking spirit, establishing the framework for however it is that we express our authority and our power in our lives. You look at the impetus of will, the genesis of will. That's what we're looking at with the Ace of Wands. You see a single peak in the background that rises up above everything else. You see the meandering of the creek below. You really see all elements contained within this card, don't you? And so all incarnate expressions, if you will. But predominantly, it's the hand of spirit reaching out from the cloud of illusion and the cloud of, or the veil of mystery, the unknown, the unified consciousness, is saying, here, begin anew, the spark of creation. What will you manifest today? And how will you, and apparently, it's how will you manifest will within authority? It's kind of, we have a little yod here, don't we? Oh, I love that. We did that, I think it was last week or a week before. We actually had a yacht in the sky, and I don't know, I don't have my software up on this computer. I just have my notes right here. So I don't know if I didn't check to see if there was a yacht today. There was yesterday at one point, but it was including like Vulcan, I think maybe, or maybe it was Vesta or something. And so I didn't write about it, but so I don't know if there's one right now, but we had one at the time I did it, and it was a 3 card reading, and I could see a yacht energy right there, and it was just very cool. So in a way, the focal point today of the 3 card reading is how do we express power and authority. So in a yod, that would be the point of the elongated triangle, right? And then your sextile energy is going to be made up of the 2 aces, and so beginnings in terms of emotional presence and emotion and in terms of will. And so we have the chance to bring both into balance today. So let me do a rune real quick here. I'm doing pretty good on time. Oh my Lord, what did I do to my bag? Here we go. All right. And my process with the runes, even when I'm creating bind runes for magical workings, I set the intention, and I let my runes I just jiggle them through my fingers. I have them all in my hand, and then I just let them go through. And when the last one is there, that's the rune. And I do that with bind rune creation too, and it never fails me. It's weird. It's like I've set the intention, and I'll either draw 3 to 5 runes to make the bind rune, and it all makes sense for what it all seems to match my intention. So to combine together, to create a spell, basically, because that's what a bind rune is. It's a spell. We have Sewillow, an as above, so below rune. Let me bring my notes back down here. Sewillow is the 16th rune of the Elder Futhark, and so it's a 7 energy. So right there you have balance. You see the horizontal plane in the center? And you see the as above, so below nature of the rest of it. So Sewillow is the rune of will. It's a rune of higher self. It's expression of basically sun energy in our life. So it's the torch, similar to Kenaz. It's there to light our way. It's about victory. It's about healing, success. What guides you, though? We think about the sun, lighting our path. We know where the sun is at any given moment, what direction it is, right? We know when it's in the morning, it's still in the east. We know in the evening, it's over in the west. So we can find direction that way. So solar energy does that. Again, it's about healing and warmth and guidance and journeying. But you can think of it in terms of inner guidance. With the queen, she's there to guide other people in a sense, in her position of authority. I guess you could say, in terms of your position of authority with others, just in your immediate surroundings, in your family, at work, with friends, neighbors, what have you, just in your smaller circle. I would think that it's how do you engage with others in a way that's balanced, that's not asserting your will too much, that's not laying guilt on people, but is in a way uplifting others with your creative impulse, with your emotional compassion. Where do you find your strength, in other words? Is it in a forceful nature where you're running over the top of everybody else? Or are you coming at people from the standpoint of curiosity and acceptance and love and compassion and eagerness and joy to know more about them? Or are you carving it all out for everyone else? There was because of the way our current president behaves and his past, that he seems to have successfully kept the reality of from his supporters. I don't know why they don't see him for what he is, but they don't. They see someone else. But he got to see something at the World Series game that he attended. with all the people that, or some of the people that stormed the skiff room. I guess that was their present for doing so, for harming national security that way. They were showing on the Jumbotron soldiers, military, people cheering, right? As you do. They just got a guy who was a big guy in ISIS. So you do that. You do it anyway. It's just what we do. We support our military. My husband's a veteran, so I support the military, What they go through is bad enough, but when you have a commander-in-chief who is as erratic and clueless as the one we have, he made it so much harder for this whole thing to take place. They had to scramble before everything left, and they had to do this in a way that was wholly unsafe. Had they had time to let this unfold, it would have been better. So, of course, when the picture of that guy and his entourage, his wife included, was put up, then the booze started and the chance to lock him up. It just happened. Someone described it as a grassroots expression. It just arose. They saw them and they began chanting and they began booing and they began reacting to this man viscerally. It wasn't like his staged rallies where he only has people that adore him. And he can then say the horrible things that he does for however long he's there, right? I think that that's an expression of authority and the perception of it run amok. I think that what you saw there was the honest expression of a group of citizens who is appalled by him. And they gave them, they basically gave him that gift of truth and reality, because at the rallies, that's not truth. That is a creation, right? It's not reflective of the truth. Because if they truly understood who it is they're supporting, they wouldn't go. They'd be at the game yelling, "Lock him up." So my point of this is that we had people come out, Joe and Mika in the morning, come out, Americans don't do that. Yes, we do, hon. Look, does it seem right to yell, "Lock him up" to a president? No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem right at all. But how many times did he encourage violence on Hillary Clinton and the new women in Congress known as the Squad? How many times? His whole presidency is going down the tubes and he's going to get impeached because he can't seem to understand that you can't engage other foreign countries in creating dirt on an opponent. He's not a president. He's a criminal. I don't know what else he could be. This is how criminals act. And given all of the information we've learned about him, how is he not? What did I read? 283 years worth of presidential salary that we've already paid out for his golf games alone. So good thing he's not taking a salary. He's getting it in kind on the taxpayers' money. So how we use authority is important. Are we doing it from the standpoint of service to others? Or are we doing it from a standpoint of service to self? And it would suggest to me this particular reading here, and we're going to do a geomancy reading here real quick to see what it says. We've got a single dot for, is that fire? No. That's air. Well, we got Caput Draconis again. The same one we got yesterday. I'll draw it out again for you. The north node of the moon is what this is what governs Caput Draconis, the head of the dragon, new beginnings. So again, like I said, this is, if you look, go back over to the blog at Stepping Aside over at I'mSteppingAside.com, and look at the weekly Rune and Moon for this week, you will see the whole theme of new beginnings. But this is Caput Draconis. Kata is upside down. That's the south node of the moon, or the tail of the dragon, having to do with past life. It's also considered an evil influence, but Caput is positive and about our present existence and the future, as well as the future and how we're going to manifest that. And here, we're really talking about, and unfortunately, we see examples of it, and that's my point. We see examples of how we manage authority plays out all the time right now. Are we going to stand up and speak truth to power that is wholly evil? Okay? Or are we going to cower in the corner? Are we going to believe what he says when our eyes show us something different, like he wants us to? Or are we going to stand in our own truth and know what that is? With Sawillo, the whole idea is that enlightenment is here. It aligns well with the 11 energy for today. And so we have the chance of enlightenment in terms of how we express will and emotion, and how that manifests in terms of how we express authority in the world, our own personal authority, our own personal sovereignty, our own sense of balance in our interactions with others. In other words, are we going to thank Russia? Or are we going to get on the phone and let our congressional leaders, the Gang of Eight, know what's going on? Because he didn't do that either. But he did take time out to thank Russia. Not the Kurdish individual who actually tipped us off. Not the Kurdish person we were working with who tipped us off. But he thanked Russia. Yeah. So what country is he really president of? Can't be ours. We're not Russia. Remember? We're the United States of America. So again, you're looking at a person who manifests his authority in a way that doesn't even seem to relate to who we are. Believes that, anyone who speaks out against him for the ridiculous things he does. We have a lieutenant colonel, works in the White House. Born in Ukraine, immigrated here at 3.5 with his twin brother and his family. He's testifying right now. He's talking about the phone call he heard this man make. And he's going to tell the truth. It's what he does. Oh my gosh, he's a Purple Heart recipient. This man has more integrity in the end of his little finger than the rest of us have collectively. Blown up by an IED. Working in the White House, listening to the phone call from the Situation Room that has gotten himself into so much trouble here and is going to get him impeached because you can't do what he did. This man's testifying. They're already calling him a double agent on the Fox News machine. Really? Because you tell the truth about what this guy did? You see, that's what you do. You try to discredit the witnesses. But you're going to try to discredit this man's patriotism? When the very patriotic act is to come and talk to the Congress because you have a White House that doesn't want them to. Again, authority. He took his personal authority, his own sense of dignity and honor and respect for not just the positions he's held, but the position he now holds. And that was more important than pledging fealty to someone who's lying and did something he can't do and continues to do things he can't do. It's like a presidential crime spree, and we have a man testifying today in uniform from the White House National Security Council, speaking truth. It's almost like this reading's for him, in a way, that he's got his will and emotions in balance, and he knows the way forward. He knows how to manifest his authority. a true hero, a true patriot, a man of true honor and true integrity, not afraid to speak truth to power. Besides, his twin brother heard the same thing, so hey, he can corroborate. What are they going to say about that? Oh, you know what they're going to do. But it's disingenuous. And it shows an expression of power and sovereignty that is completely wrong, completely mixed up, and not going to serve anybody. So even if you just look to the man who's testifying today as an example of this, he's really demonstrating that how you use power matters. And it must be used for truth and dignity for all, not to preserve the crimes of an individual. So, anyhow, whether this really is for him or whether we're just trying to figure out how we're going to manifest power in our lives, I just thought it was really significant that this came out today when, you know, we're on the precipice of something new beginning here. I felt it all last year. Last year was an 11-year. It was a year for illumination and for things to come out, which it did. No, I'm not going to meet my OneDrive. Jeez, go away. This year is a 3-year, and it's all about the catalytic energy to manifest. So manifest based on what we've learned. And so throughout this year that more and more things are coming out, and the way forward is being manifested. Next year, 2020, will be a 22 year. We can call it a 4, but we don't want to because it's going to be a master number 22. It's going to be the soul coming in and rebuilding things, rebuilding who we are. And whether that's something that's going to impact us personally, I'm sure that it will. But I suspect that this is a collective thing that's happening right now. That these energies are reflective of this huge collective shift that we're about to undertake together. Where perhaps some of the divisions, if not healed, at least laying down of the arms, so to speak, and let everybody just sort of process everything for a bit, maybe. But then at some point next year, things are going to get going. And we're going to see a change that is on a soul level. Now, will that be more nonsense like we've had? Possibly. My pendulums don't say that, and they're remaining consistent. The only thing that changed had to do with whether or not the Senate would convict. The House, it would swing widely this way. But then I say, but will the Senate convict? And it would slow down, and then it would go this way. So no. But then, a couple weeks ago, I did it. Yes, on everything. And maybe that's just the natural flow of this. Lots of resistance, and then finally it's like, well, what are we going to do? It is what it is. I suspect that's what will happen. But I don't know. You know, we're just going to have to see how it plays out. Everything can change at any given moment. So we just need to see. He could resign tomorrow. We don't know. So it's that, I guess the situation is that fluid right now. And I have to think that it's the same in everyone's personal life as well. That there's this underlying uncomfortableness that even though we might be going to work and everything's going along fine, there's this underlying foundation that just doesn't feel right. I suspect that it's having to do with what's happening in our country and around the world. So even if it's not impacting us personally, it is. The stress of it is, and the worry and the concern and the fear of the unknown. It's difficult to cope with. Empaths, take lots of time for yourself today. Use this 12th house energy to retreat if you need to, and I suspect you will. I know I'm feeling it. I'm probably not going to leave the house today, so I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to write and I'm going to meditate and I'm going to just sort of bring myself into just some kind of a quiet balance, and I'm not going to engage much today. So I just kind of woke up that way, you know, where I woke up and I just was looking out the window and I'm watching the wind, you know. We're going to do a walk in a little while when it warms up. It was 20 degrees when I woke up, so we're going to wait till a little bit later when it's 34, and then we'll walk then. So anyway, but today just take a moment to just be by yourself and align, and if you need to, if you're doing fine out in the world, that's great, but if you feel like you need to take a moment, do it. And just consider, where are you deriving your authority from? Are you speaking truth to power? Are you standing up for yourself? Are you really acknowledging the truth, or are you living within someone else's lie? Because when we don't, that's really what we're doing. We're living within someone else's lie, maybe having to affect our perception of ourselves, or what have you, you know. But you may live there, and maybe you've had so much, people rise up against you, whenever you stand up for yourself, they're just like, oh, geez, it's just not worth it. Well, yeah, it is. It is. People are doing it right now. They're standing up for all of us. We need to pay attention to that and emulate it. See how they do it. Know that it can happen. Nothing's happening to them. They're surviving their experience, right? We can too. So anyhow, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much again for coming by. Click subscribe. Go check out the blog over at imsteppingaside.com. Stuff goes up pretty much every day there, either astrologically related, herbally related, rune, tarot related, sometimes just griping related. So anyway, check it out if you like, and see what you think. And do give feedback here. If you see a different interpretation that you want to share, do it. We're all here to learn, and no one's got the right answer, but you might have an answer that opens something up for someone. So please include it. If you think of something else, put it down. We're just here to learn. So anyhow, come back tomorrow, and we'll do it all over again. So be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.